So I'll leave everybody with this. When it comes to relationships as a whole, this can work for friendships, this can work for relationships with people. Be upfront and be honest. Tell them who you really are, okay? Because the truth is going to come out. That's where most relationships struggle, is that you went on your first couple dates and this whole, like, romanticizing happened, and 2 months later, I love you and I'm ready to move in. If that is happening, you love the idea of someone, you don't even know who that person is yet. And you haven't gotten into the situations that change everything. So they run before they've even learned how to crawl. And they don't understand that they're only fantasizing the idea of what the relationship is going to be and not what it actually is, which is we don't know yet. We're trying to navigate through it. Welcome back to Talk Hard Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. We are still live. We are in Indiana. It's where we've been the whole entire time. And I personally would like to apologize that I'm not as animated as Marty Norman. But I'm going to do my best over here because we came up with this together and we're going to continue to do this together as Chris adjusts some fun camera angles.
I'm the behind-the-scenes guy on the camera.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Chris Corn on the Cob is always been behind the scenes, and he's helped us since day one. He's helped us launch this thing. He's helped us get it to where it's at. And he's helping us continue to make it grow. So show some love. Like, subscribe, send this to your friends. Today's a fun one for me because, I don't know, I don't really have to think much about it anymore. Relationships. So I got a question for the audience first. Do you suck at relationships? Does your relationship currently suck? Can your relationship get better? So if you answered yes to any of those or all of those, then today is the podcast for you. So let's dive right in. Chris, what I would love to hear your perspective because a lot of people's perspective is different than mine.
Let me change my voice.
Yes.
Okay. What's my perspective?
Is your relationship hard? And I want to preface something to Chris's lovely girlfriend. This is not a ploy to dig into your relationship.
Girlfriend got me this shirt. Hedgehogs. We love hedgehogs. See? My relationship is easy.
I love it. No, like, but is it though? Because my marriage is very easy, but it took something up front that was different than most. So I know how I broke the mold, so to speak, but what struggles have you had in your relationship? And try to speak as genuine from the heart as possible, because I think people out there are going to relate. And I do relate. I have been in bad relationships that were tough and a lot of work and seemed to be a never-ending battle. And I don't know why I stayed. I don't know why most people stayed. Now seeing the other side, I guess that's why they don't see that there is another side. So they stay in the comfortable. But what are you struggling with in any part of your relationship?
Okay. Well, yeah, there was obviously a lot of upfront stuff with mine as well because of my past. Alcoholism, jail time, violent felony, lots of trust issues, jealousy issues, all on my behalf for the most part. Stuff that I had to, that I'm still kind of in my infancy. I mean, not as of now, it's been some years now, but things that I've had a very tough time working on.
Such as?
Well, in the past, I gave people my trust just like that. A lot of things that have occurred have slowly over time kind of built up this wall, like with pretty much anybody that deals with a lot of failed relationships and lack of loyalty and things like that. Okay. Yeah, it got in life for me hard to trust people, and it got hard for people to trust me as well. Due to anger issues, alcohol, drugs, and things like this that I had no idea before that I could help, that I could, work on or get help with from other people. Things that most people would walk away from when you tell them up front. That's the biggest hurdle in the beginning usually. When it comes to my current relationship, no, it hasn't really been easy. She's easy to love. It's not that. It's countless arguments because of me making things up in my mind that I thought were true And then I started to realize that I make up a lot of other things in my mind that aren't real, like people following me and things like that. So I have to compare it. I have to do reality checks. I have to realize that when I have a dream about something, I'm not predicting the future 100% of the time.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, it's little things that I have made, mountains out of molehills with, and I've gotten a lot better at it. We argue a lot less. It comes up a lot less, and we have learned to work through things together instead of continuing on an argument or a fight or whatever. Both of us have sat and admitted we were wrong in certain instances. And now it's really just the typical, either one of us getting agitated because we're tired, normal people stuff. Mm-hmm. It's kind of gone out of the cuckoo's nest and into more of a normal relationship. And we're still working out the kinks.
That's why I don't call it a cuckoo's nest. I hear what you're saying. First and foremost, to say that I 100% will ever trust anybody is a flat out lie. And if you think that you actually 100% trust somebody else in your life, you're full of shit. I'm just going to tell you straight up. So if you could be honest with yourself, then maybe you would get somewhere. There's nothing wrong with not trusting 100%. People are people. We have seen people change and adapt and go from good to bad, from bad to good. I mean, we've seen it all. It's an ever-changing evolution. And to say, I mean, I trust my wife 98%, but I'm not going to lie. 2% could, and this isn't a trust of like cheating. This is a trust of like changing directions with life, because that happens too. People grow out of things because they stop paying attention to each other. So to touch base on the beginning of your relationship, which I feel was very similar to mine, what I did with my wife the night we met for dinner was I said, I'm an addict, I'm an asshole, I have massive trust issues. Like the type of trust issues where I'm going to think you're screwing the neighbor. And it's going to be real in my head. I know it's not.
Right.
But it's very real in my head because I've experienced this. So it is as real as I can imagine it to be because I've physically gone through it and attached a very deep emotion to that in that moment. And that's what helped me learn. Most people's relationships, and listen to me carefully, ladies and gentlemen, the majority of problems in a relationship is ego, 1,000%. And the minute you can notice a pattern in yourself and a pattern in your partner, ego stops becoming such an issue. Most people that I have talked to with like relationship coaching is what are the fights about? And you'll see the pattern there. It's who's right and who's wrong. And I don't understand that, because why does somebody have to be right and somebody have to be wrong? We're not talking about mathematical equations or science. Everybody is entitled to their own opinion, and it is true in their mind. Just like what you were arguing about is true in your mind. When you can get past the BS of trying to prove each other wrong and just accept that you have a different perspective and that you still love each other, then things will go a lot more smooth. And I've had those fights. What do you want me to change for you? Nothing.
You want to know something funny we argued about a little bit today? Mm-hmm. She wanted to give her boy an apple, and I said something about peeling it because apples have wax on them.
Okay.
And pesticides. And she said, no, that's the most nutritious part of the apple. I said, well, if you want to be right, you can be right. I'm wrong. Go ahead and give him the apple with the skin. And then she peeled the apple. And then she sent me a message with a photo saying that the peel of the apple is the most nutritious part. Mm-hmm. So I sent her a picture of an article that said most fruits and vegetables have fake wax on them. So, I mean...
Right. Prospectively, you're both right. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, at that moment, what are you actually arguing about? Whether or not you think the skin is healthy and whether or not she thinks it is or good for the child. Like, in that moment, it doesn't matter.
You know, the last thing she said was, I love you. And I said, I love you too. And then I went to my room thinking about apples for about 5 minutes. And then I was like, this is stupid. We argued on Thanksgiving because I gave her Chihuahua some turkey. So I sent an article and posted it on Facebook to prove that most dog food has turkey in it. It's not perfect, but we're doing pretty good.
I don't remember the last like real fight we had. We bicker here and there because we're moody and we both work our butts off and life happens and it's usually very quick to be over. Because in that moment, we know where each other stand. We don't have our ego in the way. I'm not sitting here trying to puff up my chest, wondering if you're going to leave me. I don't have to worry about that.
Right.
Because I want someone that wants to stay with me.
Yeah,
so ego is one of the biggest problems in a fight, but my rules are simple. Don't go to bed angry. That's one I'm sure all of you have heard, but there's a purpose behind it. Your mood in the morning is often set by the way you end your previous day. If you are not in racing thoughts, because if you're both fighting, there's going to be a lot of emotion. You're probably not going to sleep very well. You're going to wake up more than likely in the same or worse of a mood. And on top of it, you're tired, even more than normal. One
of the worst things that I've done is almost every time we used to fight, we're September or February, we'll be going on 2 years. So it's not that old. One of the worst things that I tend to do is threaten to leave. I did that almost every time we fought before we, moved into a different place. Mm-hmm. Done it a couple times since we've moved, and it's probably the dumbest thing I can say because I know I'm not going to leave or that I don't want to leave, mm-hmm. and I know after I said it that I fucked up. Like I'm fighting myself because mm-hmm. I keep saying shit that I shouldn't be saying, but mm-hmm. in the heat of the moment, I'm telling myself in my head, you shouldn't have said that. Stop saying shit. And then I say something worse. And that's kind of one of the biggest things because, we both pointed out that we say things to each other that are intentionally to hurt the other person when we're mad. And another thing that I had a lot of trouble with that I've also worked on and changed something that I do to improve my way of thinking about it is if we're sitting in the living room, sitting on the couch, whatever, and she's on her phone that day,
yep.
Because she's, either shopping or applying for different jobs or whatever she wants to do, I can sit there and get mad. We don't spend any quality time together, or I can go get on my computer and do some work on, video editing or whatever else I want to do, design. I thought about it today a little more, that I hadn't complained one time. As long as I'm doing something to keep my mind occupied.
Well, fact check it is what I always tell clients. Just fact check it right from the jump. Who defines quality?
Right.
Your quality time may be her undivided attention, but if she is not aware of that, you've set an unrealistic expectation on someone. They're not mind readers. They don't know how to figure it out. If you want to get past this, then outside of that moment, don't do it in that moment because there's a lot of emotion involved. Outside of the moment, sit down and say, hey, I'd like to recap yesterday. I want you to understand from my perspective what quality time means to me, and I would love to hear what that means to you. And let's see if we can find some common ground. Because to her, quality time may just mean I know you're there. I can sit on my phone in peace. I'm comfortable. I have my protector next to me. I am in my safe space, and that's quality to her. To you, it's I want you hugging me and cuddling me and let's zone out and watch Netflix.
And you're exactly on point with that because we've talked about it plenty of times. We've had the conversation almost to the point where it's like I'm a broken record, mm-hmm. but it was sometimes it was reassurance and sometimes it was I really wasn't sure. So we've talked about it enough, at this point by now that I know quality time can be that. We can just relax and feel safe and feel comfortable, which is perfectly fine. We're in our home. Mm-hmm. And we spend plenty of quality time. Whether or not we have my son and her son with us or if we have a kid-free weekend, we can go get something to eat, go kayaking, camping, whatever.
Let's real quick. Ladies and gentlemen, quality time from a man usually just means sex. Like, let's be honest. Most men, that's quality time. So make time for that, and he's pretty well happy.
I'm a gentleman.
So am I, and I like sex. I don't know what the problem is. What I'm saying is like
I'm gentle.
You're on the right path, though. Set the ground rules for what quality means or anything in an altercation. Don't try to resolve the altercation while it's happening, because it doesn't get anywhere. You're both too busy trying to be right, and it makes no sense to me. Just get past what's happening, let the situation cool down, and revisit it when there's not so much emotion involved.
Yeah, that's one of the hardest things for me to do, is let it go in the moment. Is to, sometimes I go in the other room. She thinks I'm going in the other room because I'm angry. I think the same. If she doesn't want to continue the conversation, it gets stupid, mostly on my part, because she's trying to calm down, put some thought into it, sleep on it. And just her thing is, I just want to move forward. This is stupid. Like I said, there's many things that I need to work on, that I've been working on. I'm improving. But yeah, it's pretty much everything you're saying is what I've been doing. And one of the biggest points to make is that there's too many times where both people want to be right and they want the other person to be wrong. They want to have the last word, and there's just no peace in that. There's no serenity.
Most people do that because that's what makes them feel calm. As long as you know and you admit that I was right, then I am safe in this situation. That is normally where that feeling of trying to prove you're right so much. You don't want to look like an idiot. First and foremost, I don't know who you look like an idiot to. The world isn't watching you guys fight, and if it's your loved one, they don't think you're an idiot. So I don't know where that comes from. Number two is when the ego flares up and we're trying to get in each other's way. Where I have often stopped myself is I wouldn't let another man talk to my wife the way that I have slipped and talked to her, and that keeps me in check real well. Like, you would not allow another man to talk to a woman like that, so why would you allow that to happen? And for me and my wife, the biggest hurdle was probably, I have a very deep monotone style voice, so if it wasn't for this, you probably wouldn't be able to hear me right now. So I have this sound, and then from here, there's no middle ground. It's just now and this. So while I'm talking like this, she feels like I'm yelling at her. And I don't feel like I'm yelling. So that situation had to get into check real well, because it was always about, I'm not yelling. You just taking it that way. It's like, that doesn't matter. In that moment, if she feels a way, it's valid. Who cares? She's not trying to make things worse. And if you start to nitpick each other just to prove a point, then you're doomed.
Right.
But for us, it's just been honesty. This is how I honestly feel in the moment, but what I try to do is not react to something. Because oftentimes if I take a moment, this just happened, and honey, if you're watching this is going to be the surprise. We went out to the lake. We take the family out for a trip. We get a nice floating cabin, do the whole thing. It was a nice getaway. And I was in charge of the boat. So I had to go pick the boat up early in the morning, get it back to our cabin so we could get it all ready to have it docked there. Get everything prepped, and now I'm driving everybody around. There's a lot of responsibility on me. We come in for lunch, and she asks what I want to eat, and everybody's kind of getting food. I'm just a little tired because I've been driving everybody around. And I sit down, and I say, a sandwich is fine. And so she gets out the bread, and she gets out the meat, and she sets it in front of me and goes, "Here you go." And I love you to death, babe. But my instant reaction was, you're not even going to make me a sandwich after I just watched you make your mom food? It was my ego, though. Right then and there, I knew that's what it was. So while I felt that emotion come rising to the top of like, you must not love me because you're not making me a sandwich. I do everything for you. This is the thought pattern going through my head in that instant reaction. I do so much for you. I've been driving everybody around the boat. Now here I am. I'm puffing up. My ego's flaring. And I noticed it inside, so I just let it go. And I was like, it's not her job to make me a sandwich for starters. If I really want a sandwich made for me, I can have Subway deliver it. Like, it's not her job. She is my wife. She is my partner. She is my everything. She is not my sandwich creator. So
she's not a sandwich artist.
I mean, she's amazing at, but my instant reaction was ego. Are you really not going to make me a sandwich after everything I've done today? Now I'm keeping score. And this is, again, another one of my rules. Stop keeping score. If you keep score, there's a winner and there's a loser. That means somebody in the relationship has to be a loser. And if that's the kind of relationship you want, that's the kind of relationship you're going to get. You should not be in a relationship with somebody that has a winner and a loser. You should both be winning at all times. But you should be winning for yourself, which brings you to my third thing, and that is selfish. I love this word, and I know so many of you hate this word.
Shellfish?
Yes. Selfish.
Selfish.
I am, by far, the most selfish person. you will ever meet. And there's a reason for it. And that is because I keep myself full so that I can serve others to my greatest ability. But if I am not full, I am not serving 100%. I'm serving from 60 or wherever my cup might be. So when I keep myself full and I get what I want, like I don't just go buy a car and not tell my wife about it. I always call her first and say, hey, here's my thoughts. What do you think? Okay, cool, go. Or whatever it may be, right? If it's a big purchase. But we stop keeping score because when you start keeping score, there's an issue. Well, do you remember that one time? No, I don't actually, because I wasn't keeping score.
Like how you mentioned calling yourself out for your ego and keeping score. It's something I've really noticed and started looking at in myself lately. And I kind of felt real bad for a little bit. You know, while I was camping, before I would complain about anything, I would stop myself and say, you know, in my head, wait a minute. I've been doing this for like a month straight, just bitching about every little thing that I can. Mm-hmm. And I said, I got to get out of this. I don't remember when or how I got into it, but I've slipped back into finding all these things wrong with everything and everyone but myself. Mm-hmm. And, you know, just, I can't think of a raw example right at the moment, but it was, because it was so many things, you know, her wanting to fish while we're camping instead of sitting where I'm at. You know, I haven't seen you half the camping trip. You know, stupid little shit like that. When I could have gone and sat with her, fished with her. And it's just... When
the reality is, the plan of your relationship, sorry to cut you off, is you're supposed to have a whole entire life together.
Right.
So what are we bitching about? 4 hours out of, I don't even know how many hours are in a lifetime.
Yeah.
Like 4 hours. And that's a long time to spend with somebody when you're just like quality time. 4 hours is a long time. So... Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's just I started noticing all these negative things. I'm like, man, I'm stepping backwards. Like, this is old behavior. And I'm really glad I started catching myself more often than I have been lately, because I've been thinking negatively and being shitty and irritable about it, you know, not very nice in the way I say things or, you know, just my actions. And the more I notice it, not that I'm going into this slump or anything where I just feel bad in general, but I start to feel like, man, what the hell am I doing? Like, we're out here doing something fun, and I'm sitting here bitching about I shouldn't be complaining about a single thing. So that, you know, that was one of the biggest things I've had an issue with lately, just thinking negatively, and realizing that there's no external influence. It's all in me, you know, because if I sat there and thought positively instead of negatively, nothing would be wrong at all. Nothing is really wrong at all.
I love that you're touching base on this. So your negative thought pattern is coming from not being selfish enough. Let's just be honest.
Okay.
That is my opinion based on data that I have seen in others, and being selfish does not mean anything bad. Even by definition, it is for personal profit and gain. Yes, 1,000%. But if you're a good human being, once you're getting all that profit and gain, you give it away. That is the point to life. So I am selfish to do that, which is why I don't have as many of the same negative thought patterns. I have them. But where this comes from, and it strikes a story for me with my wife where, again, I got in that ego moment. I wake up every morning early so that I can meditate, take care of myself. But this day kind of got away from me pretty quick. It seemed like time flew by faster than normal. So now I'm running late to work, which I don't like being late. So that puts me in a little bit of a tizzy. And so I get up. I'll make her coffee. I made her coffee that morning. You know, I get a nice cup out for her. It's just kind of a cute thing I do because I want her to wake up and just not have to think about it. And I was prepping the rest of my day, and there were still dishes in the sink. And I went out to the car and went, crap, and I walked back in and noticed the dishes, so I did them real quick, and they were mine. But then I took off, and in my head I was thinking, why can't she just do the dishes? Again, ego, instant response. I get up, I make her coffee, here I go again. I'm puffing up, I'm getting an ego. You know what I mean? I'm fact-checking all these great things that I do, so she better do this. For what? Like, is she aware of this, for starters? And so later on in the day, when the emotions have calmed down, I said to her, hey, you know, when I'm running around in the morning, and sometimes, I know how much we hate dishes in the sink, and that I got that habit from her, which I think is an amazing habit. Just do your dishes and put them away. But I said, were you just going to leave my dishes in the sink? And she was like, oh, I didn't know there was a time frame. And I just went, okay, enough said, right? Because that means that she has to do the dishes before I leave, so I notice it. It's not that she wasn't going to do them.
You just scrub them even harder.
It means, dang it, woman, you better do me a favor before I leave the house. Like, what the heck are you talking about?
Right.
She's not aware of this. And who's to say she wasn't going to do it? And that's what she said back to me. And I said, you are 1,000% right. Thank you very much. And I haven't had to worry about it since. Yeah, but even with yours, like if you were getting in that negative thought pattern of like, why won't she spend time with me?
Oh, I do.
You know what I mean? You're going in there, but what if her plan is to go fishing? Like there's always an or. I call it the other reality. So they say, this is what happened. I say, or what else? Like, let's dig into what else. So in this situation, you guys have been setting up for camp. It's been busy. You haven't really gotten to spend time, and she bolts off to fish. What you failed to think of, and most other people do, is that she could be thinking in her head since morning time. We're going to get there. We're going to set up. I'm going to go out. I'm going to fish. It's going to be really, really cute. I'm going to catch something for him. I'm going to come back, and we're going to have this moment together.
Yep.
And you almost ruin that by being like, hey, wait a minute. Where are you going? You don't want to spend any time with me? And in her head, she's going, you freaking asshole.
Yep.
I had a plan, and you jumped in on it, and you did not tell me you had a plan. So now we've got a situation. So if you want to surprise someone, be prepared for them to not take it very well, or be prepared to navigate through the waters, or just tell people what's going on. Like I just tell my wife, so she doesn't think strange things, like, hey, I got something planned later, so just kind of, I'm not ignoring you. Because sometimes when there are patterns in people and that shifts randomly, people get very concerned. But there's no ground rules for things. Me and my wife have very clear ground rules. This is how we fight. We fight for each other, not at each other.
Right. Not against.
This isn't a competition. I don't bring up, well, you remember that one time you did this? Because it's not going to work. And it doesn't matter because things have changed. Situations have changed. Everything has changed. This is a new discussion. Stop approaching it as a fight. A marriage is like this great dance, and every now and then you step on toes. And rather than thinking that someone is trying to break your toe, just understand they're just out of sync with you, and that you just need to slow the music down for a minute and get back on track. And this is an easy thing to do. Relationships are not hard. Take care of yourself. Make sure your partner understands why you're taking care of yourself. Always take care of yourself first. This is how they do it on planes. This is how they do it in the military. This is how things go. What's that?
Trains and automobiles.
Yes. You always make sure you're okay first, or you're not going to bring you to the table. You're going to bring a version of you that isn't the whole you. My wife wants to do, career change situation, and I'm just like, go. Mm-hmm. Well, what if we could play the what if game until we're blue in the face? How about there is no what if, there is only go forward and make stuff happen.
Right. Together.
Absolutely. Well, no, it's her business. Go build it how you want to, or go broke. I don't care. We'll get in a cardboard box and I'll be fine.
No, what I mean by that is instead of opposing everything somebody does or trying to have that control,
yeah, by together,
not even that you're allowing.
I am right here.
Right. Not even that you're allowing them to do it, but they don't need your permission. Your spouse, your partner, whatever, they're living their own life. You're living your own life. You're both living your own lives together, is what I meant by that.
Yeah, absolutely. That is 1,000%. But you don't have to be glued to each other's buttholes,
right,
to be living your life together. I thought, because of my own insecurities and my own codependencies that were flaring up in deep addiction and before, because I hadn't learned this yet, that it's okay to, I'm living my life. My wife is a part of it. She is living her life, and I am just a part of it. I value my part in it, so I am present when I can be. I don't keep track of how many things around the house I do. I don't keep track of all the things that I do. When that ego flares, I know what it is. It's because I go back to the scorekeeper. I put that thing down, and I just keep moving. I don't worry about her. She's a grown woman. She's done very well for herself. But just like right now, she's getting ready to make a move to a different place. And she was like, so you're going to help me move on Sunday? And I'm like, no, but I'll hire someone for you. And that's not me being mean. I don't want to go lug a bunch of stuff around on a Sunday, but I am more than willing to pay somebody for you so that you don't have to do it either.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not me being a jerk. It's just I'm not in the mood to go do that. So I'd rather just watch somebody else do it because I happen to be in a situation where I can, and it works. And it also takes pressure off of her. But if she were that type of like, well, you just can't throw money and everything, and why won't you be willing to lift a finger for, that's scorekeeping again. That is somebody getting angry because they're expecting me to live a certain way, and they haven't told me what that way is, and I'm not going to live that way regardless because this is my life.
Yeah. The main thing I want to do, moving forward, take the scoreboard out of the equation and realize that every time I get in the state of mind where I think I can, I don't know the word I'm looking for, let my ego overtake though and get cocky. What I'm really thinking is how glad I am to have this other person in my life. Mm-hmm. And we have split before for nearly a year, and I remember how I felt that whole time, and it wasn't normal for me. So I've got to realize how grateful I felt when we talked and decided to amend things and try this again, and it's been an ongoing thing, and I just have to keep my gratitude in check, stop trying to tell her how to learn these life lessons that I'm still learning and let her learn her own way through experience without me making that a bad experience.
Absolutely. So I'll leave everybody with this. When it comes to relationships as a whole, this can work for friendships, this can work for relationships with people, be upfront and be honest. Tell them who you really are, okay? Because the truth is going to come out. That's where most relationships struggle, is that you went on your first couple dates and this whole like romanticizing happened, and 2 months later, I love you and I'm ready to move in. If that is happening, you love the idea of someone, you don't even know who that person is yet, and you haven't gotten into the situations that change everything. So they run before they've even learned how to crawl, and they don't understand that they're only fantasizing the idea of what the relationship is going to be and not what it actually is, which is we don't know yet. We're trying to navigate through it. If you see yourself in a pattern of, well, I always choose bad men, or, I just attract the wrong ones, take the wrong ones out of the equation and focus on the I attract, because that is the fact in the situation. The wrong ones are not the fact. The fact that you make these decisions and only you can change them when you stop changing the way you treat relationships. So if you see a pattern, it's not because you have bad luck and the 30 people that you happen to date were all cheaters. You brought that to the situation. You attracted that type of person because that's how you expect something to go. And so that surrounds you. So you are what you see out of life, not the other way around. Love the person, not the idea of the person. Be honest with each other. Don't keep score. Take care of yourself first and make sure that your partner is right there winning with you. This is a very simple concept. I can dive more into this on any platform with anybody, anywhere. If you are struggling in a situation with the relationship, you can reach out, fans@talkhardfans.com. I can put you on my life coaching practice. We can sit down for a free consultation, and we'll take it from there. If you're struggling with addiction, still reach out. We still have lots of connections. If you're struggling with life and you just want to hear more, then just leave a comment. Tell us how you feel. Tell us what's going on in your mind. Tell us how life is going, and let's talk about it. I still need to plan this cold plunge, because we need to figure out how we're going to do that.
Yeah, I'll even do it. I don't care.
Now I got to buy 2 cold plunges.
Skydiving into an ice bath. I got just one last thing.
Okay.
Since you said something about being in love with the idea of somebody, if I'm not saying this to anybody else, I'm saying it to myself. Don't be so naive that you can fool yourself into thinking that somebody is what they are in your fantasy when you first met them before you actually get to know who or what they are. I've done that so many times, not just relationships, people in general. I can look at somebody and think I can read their character and imagine their entire life. Mm-hmm. And then that's setting an expectation and bringing disappointment when I find out they're not what I fantasized.
Well, here's the reality. This is how most people live their lives. And it's a psychological pattern across most people. It's, I'm not who I think I am, and I'm not who you think I am. I'm who I think that you think I am. Does that make sense?
There's a different version of us in everybody's perspective.
There's so many different perspectives in the situation. Understand you have a relationship with yourself first. Then you have a relationship with your partner. And you also have a relationship with the relationship. And they all need to be tendered and cared for, in my opinion, in that exact order. I will die for my wife, but I've got to be in a position to fight my hardest for her first. If I'm not there, I can't do anything for her. Thank you, guys.
Now look at the big camera. Love you.